I used to think distance just happens with time, like something natural you can't really stop. But now I know that's not true. My name is Harold Whitman, and I'm 90 years old, and it took me this long to understand why my children slowly drifted out of my life. When I was a younger man, I believed I was doing everything right. I worked hard, long hours, sometimes 6 days a week, sometimes more. I told myself that providing for my family was the same as being present for them. In my mind, putting food on the table and keeping a roof over their heads meant I was a good father. That's what my own father had done, and I never thought to question it. I remember coming home late in the evenings, the house already quiet. My wife would be in the kitchen cleaning up, and the children would be in their rooms. Sometimes I'd peek in, see them asleep, and feel a strange mix of pride and distance that I didn't quite understand at the time. I told myself they were safe, they were cared for, and that was enough. There were small moments, now that I think back, moments that seemed unimportant then. My daughter once asked me to come to her school play. I said I'd try, but work got in the way, and I didn't go. My son used to wait by the door with a baseball glove, hoping I'd have time to play catch. I would pat his shoulder and tell him maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow came and went more times than I can count. At the time, I thought those were small disappointments, things children would forget as they grew older. I didn't realize that those small moments were the very things that build a relationship. I thought the big things mattered more. The bills paid, the sacrifices made, the long hours endured. I never understood that love, at least the kind that stays, is built quietly in ordinary time. As the years passed, the children grew up just like children do. They became independent, built lives of their own, moved to different cities. I remember feeling proud watching them leave, thinking I had done my job well. But there was something else too, something I didn't want to admit. A kind of silence had already settled between us, long before they packed their bags. Phone calls became occasional, then rare. Visits felt shorter each time. Conversations stayed on the surface, about weather, work, and polite updates. I couldn't understand it. I would sit in my chair, holding the phone after a brief call, wondering why it felt like I was speaking to strangers who happened to share my name. For a long time, I blamed the world. I told myself that times had changed, that younger generations were different, that life had simply pulled them away. It was easier to believe that than to look at myself, easier to think I was a victim of distance rather than a part of its cause. The truth didn't come all at once. It came slowly, in quiet moments. One afternoon, I found an old box in the attic filled with drawings, school papers, and little notes my children had made when they were young. There were pictures of our family, stick figures holding hands, all of us smiling. In almost every drawing I was there, but I realized something that stopped me cold. I was always drawn at a distance, standing slightly apart, or sometimes just a figure in the corner. That's when it began to settle in, not like a sudden shock, but like a weight you realize you've been carrying for years. I had been present in their lives, but not really there. I had given them everything except the one thing they needed most: my time, my attention, my willingness to sit with them in their small, ordinary worlds. I started remembering things differently after that, not as a man who sacrificed everything for his family, but as a man who hid behind his responsibilities. Work was easier than connection. Providing was easier than listening. Being tired was easier than being vulnerable. There were times my children tried to reach me. I see that now. My daughter would sit beside me and talk about her day, and I would nod without really hearing her. My son once tried to tell me about something that upset him, and I remember telling him to be strong, to toughen up. I thought I was teaching him something important. What I was really doing was teaching him that his feelings didn't have a place with me. Children don't drift away all at once. They learn little by little where they are heard and where they are not. They learn where they feel seen and where they feel invisible. And over time they move toward the places that feel warmer, even if those places are far from home. I used to wonder why they didn't call more often, why they didn't visit, why they seemed distant even when they were sitting right across from me. Now I understand that distance didn't begin when they left the house. It began years earlier, in the quiet spaces I chose not to fill. If I could go back, I wouldn't change the big things. I wouldn't chase a different career or try to rewrite my entire life. I would change the small moments. I would sit down more often. I would listen without rushing. I would show up even when I was tired, especially when I was tired, because those are the moments that stay, not the long hours at work, not the money earned, not the things provided. What stays are the evenings spent together, the conversations that seem unimportant at the time, the simple act of being there. Now at 90, I don't have the chance to rebuild what was lost. I can only understand it, and maybe that understanding is something even if it came too late for me. If you're listening to me, and you still have time, don't make the same mistake I did. Don't assume love is understood just because it's felt. Don't think presence can be replaced with provision. Sit with the people you care about. Listen to them even when it seems small, even when it feels inconvenient. Because one day you may find yourself where I am, sitting in a quiet room, holding memories that feel heavier than they should, finally understanding something that would have meant everything if you had learned it sooner.